James in Chicago. Hey, James, what's up?
How you doing, Tom? I am a conservative, and I just like to give my point of view, and I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
To what I have to say. First of all, you're talking about supply side economics, and obviously, one of the major tenets of that is that a reduction in the top rates of wealthy Americans will result in an increase in tax revenues,
which has never been demonstrated to work.
I would like to give an example of where I have seen that work. I was reading, and it was saying that in 1979, the top 0.01% paid about 2.7% of the overall amount of taxes. So that's just 0.01%. And today, I believe the tax rate is about 10 points lower, give or take, might be more, might be less, but it's definitely lower. And today they're paying about 6.5% of the overall taxes, which, in my opinion, proves that even though that the tax rate has gone down for them, they're still contributing significantly more money.
James, they've suckered you. They didn't give you the statistics about the growth of wealth or income for that top 0.1% of 1%, did they?
No.
No, they didn't. The top 1% of Americans since Reagan's presidency to today have seen a 275% increase in their income. That is in the dollars that they're getting. And we have now, and the average working person has seen about a 2% decrease during those 30 years. It would have been about a 1% increase if it wasn't for the Bush Great Recession. So basically, the rest of us got stuck with nothing, got nothing. The rich got vastly richer. Now, of course, if you get vastly richer, even if you're paying a lower tax rate, there's going to be more tax revenue. The other thing is that if you look back in the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, before Reagan, again, before supply-side economics, the average person, the average CEO was making between 30 and 32 times what their janitors were making. Okay, so the average CEO, it was very rare that any CEO made over $1 million in today's dollars, inflation adjusted for today. Because if they did, they started paying 74% income tax. So what they did was they kept the money in the company. And what this did was it caused incredible stability. You had people who literally started in the mailroom at General Motors and ended up as the CEO. They worked in the company for 40 years. And in addition to that, they kept the company's money in the company. Because why take it out? You get taxed on it. Whether it's General Motors or whether it's the local furniture store. When Reagan dropped that top tax rate, these very wealthy people started pulling money out like crazy, hot money, and were looking for places to gamble with it. And thus, bubbles. We had the dot-com bubble, we had the bank bubble, we've had the real estate bubble. All of these bubbles are the result of hot money in our economy. But now we have a situation where one family, 5 heirs of Sam Walton, one family, own more wealth than the bottom third of America, where the top 400 wealthiest people, just 400 people, the Forbes 400 people own more wealth than half of America, than 150 million other Americans. And half of those 400 people paid no income taxes last year. That's the other half of the equation that you're not seeing in those statistics. And that's a classic example of, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. Supply-side economics doesn't work. It's a really simple equation. Supply-side, first of all, that's not even supply-side economics. That's some crazy idea that Art Laffer had on with a curve on a napkin. That's Laffer curve economics that Reagan adopted. Supply-side economics says, okay, the classic economic theory that was first really well articulated by Adam Smith in Wealth of Nations in 1776 and in his book Theory of Moral Sentiments, says that demand is what drives an economy. The more people you have to buy something, the more the economy is going to grow, and the more entrepreneurs are going to step in to meet that demand. And everybody understood that right up until the 1980s when Reagan came along and said, demand, and the idea was always, because demand drives an economy, we want to put more and more money into working people's pockets because working people spend 100% of the money they get. And that thus they create demand. Whereas if you give extra money to rich people, it doesn't create demand. They put it in a Swiss bank account. Romney's got a Swiss bank account. He's got a Cayman's bank account. He's got all these foreign. His kids have $100 million in a trust fund. It's doing nothing. It's going nowhere. It is not creating demand. And so Reagan, having to confront this problem that everybody understood that the economy was driven by working people having money in their pockets, said no. It's rich people having money in their pockets, and it's supply that's driving things. He was wrong. History has proven him wrong. Thanks for the call, James. Good luck.